Hey guys, I'm going to be showing you the easiest way to transition your dog from dry kibble to raw food. My name is Amy. I was a vet tech for 3 years, so I do specialize in everything health and nutrition for your pup. If you want to take a look at my other social media pages, this is my TikTok and this is my Instagram. I want to let you guys know as well the benefits of giving your dog a raw diet, okay? It could be things along the lines of smaller stool, cleaner teeth. They will also have higher energy levels, shinier coats, healthier coats, low shedding. You will notice if you have your dog on a complete raw diet, shedding will be at an all-time low. So these are some amazing benefits that your dog will get from being on a raw diet instead of just feeding 100% kibble. If you've decided that you're definitely going to switch your dog from eating a dry, super processed food to something more fresh or something raw, I completely understand. I think that most people in the community typically feed their dogs kibble because that is what all people recommend to them. That's what veterinarians tell you that your dog should eat. And I'm here to tell you, working in the veterinarian field for as long as I did as a vet nurse, that unfortunately these dry kibbles are only making it worse for your dog. You know, high blood pressure, cancer, things like that. Definitely don't let anybody tell you otherwise, that this diet is bad for your dogs. Your dogs can eat raw food. So keep that in mind, that people will often tell you, oh, I'm not feeding my dogs raw because of the risk of salmonella. I'm not feeding my dog because of the risk of bacteria and disease and stuff like that. But I want to let you guys know that most people don't know this, but you can also get salmonella and all those other terrible bacterial diseases from kibble as well. And I'm definitely going to link in a study in here for you as well that you can take a look at to see that, kibble can cause those problems. Kibble has also, I've seen people, mention their stories about how they were feeding their dog kibble and they found maggots in the kibble. How does that happen? I don't know. In specific brands of food. So again, if you are interested in feeding your dog a raw food, a raw diet, that is completely okay. Don't let anybody try to deter you away from that. There's nothing wrong with it. It is a great diet. You have to keep in mind that before dogs became completely domesticated, think about where they came from and where they originated from. Back then, when dogs were living out in the woods, in the forests, and in nature, their diet consisted of raw food. They weren't eating kibble. They weren't eating all these extra additives that we're giving. They are omnivores, but a majority of their diet should 100% be protein. That it is great to add vegetables and fruit and all that extra stuff, vitamins, all that in the food, but the main power source to making sure that your dog has an amazing diet is definitely 100% going to be having that high protein based diet. And some kibbles just do not offer that, and it is very processed food. And I think if you do want to have your dog live a healthy, long lifestyle, you are definitely going to make that switch from the dry kibble to either a raw diet or to a completely cooked diet. It is also great to make sure that you are doing all the research necessary for your pup to make sure that you are giving them a perfect diet. If you have a dog that is allergic to certain proteins and meats and vegetables and grains and things like that, getting the research done just to figure out what exactly they're allergic to. So when you are introducing them to this raw diet, which they are very new to, it is important that you know these things, because you want to make sure that you're not feeding it to them, they're allergic to it, and you'll start to see things like gastrointestinal upset, which just means the stomach is having a problem digesting the food, and you'll start to see discharge coming out of the eyes, out of the nose. So just make sure that you're doing your research in advance before, just feeding your dog certain things. If your dog has allergies to chicken, make sure that you're not giving any raw chicken products, beef, whatever it be, pork, turkey, lamb, doesn't really matter. Just make sure you're doing that research to know exactly it is that you're feeding your pup. Okay, so let's talk about the transitioning process. So when you're transitioning, please be mindful that this is a very, very, very slow process. Do not rush this process. I promise you, you will regret it. If you rush this process, your dog will have diarrhea and potentially some vomiting and blood, things like that. You don't want to experience any of those things. So again, hear me when I say this is a slow process. You don't want to speed through it. It may take sometimes weeks to months to get this process, in a full effect. So the first thing you're going to keep in mind, that when you're first getting started, don't just completely take your dog off of the kibble. Make sure that you're doing it piece by piece. So for example, if your dog is currently eating 100% kibble, you're going to start by doing 25% raw food, and then you're going to do 75% kibble at that point in time, okay? You'll work on that for about a couple days. You don't want to completely rush them into it. Some dogs take a little bit longer. I would maybe work on that for about a week, especially if your dog has never eaten raw before, ever not. They were once eating raw, then they started eating kibble, then they cooked diet. Like this is just if you've never had raw before ever in their entire life, they've only been eating kibble since birth. If your dog is 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, they've always been eating kibble. Please do this transition very slowly. The process can be a little bit faster when you're dealing with somebody like a young adult pup, 1 to 2 years old, or even like a young puppy. So again, we're gonna do it slow. So 25% raw, and you're gonna do 75% kibble. And then when you hit to, you could do that for maybe about 5 to 7 days. I would just say for a week. Then when you hit to the second week, then you'll transition to 50% raw, and then you'll move up to 50% kibble. So that is very, very, very important, making sure that you're doing the portioning correctly with half and half. It's pretty easy to tell if you completely flat out your kibble in a bowl and you just remove like half of it out, you can replace the other half, with that raw base. Make sure that depending on the dog, you are counting the calories, you are getting the calorie count and the fats and all those things, depending on what that raw meat is. Make sure that you're not over giving them calories. If your dog is weighing 80 pounds, make sure that you're giving them about 14 to 1,500 calories. Depends if they're neutered, not neutered. So keep all those things in mind during this transition period. On the third week, you're going to make sure that you are doing 75% raw, and you can do 25% kibble, okay? So please take your time with this. This should last for about a week long. At this point in time, the stomach should be almost there, almost done adjusting, things like that. So just make sure you're staying on that path. If you notice that the stool, you're taking them outside and the stool is completely normal, there's no concerns or problems, then you'll be good. And then for the last week, you can do 100% raw, no kibble at all, okay? So at this point in time, you should be giving 100% raw. The stomach should have been completely adjusted to it, so no concerns there. They should be good. They should be eating it, and you will know your dog is adjusted to the raw food if you see that there is no loose stool, there's no blood, and I mean the stool is like formed and it is like complete, okay? You don't want it to be any soggy, loose, anything like that. As well as when you're doing this process, please make sure that as their stomachs are getting adjusted, you can throw in some extra probiotics into your dog's food, okay? So you can do things like Fortiflora. I'm gonna, show that here. You can do ProViable, you can do Propectilin. These probiotics are amazing to put on your dog's food because you want their stomach to have some gut support during this hard transition. You don't want to just have them out here just cold turkey, because then you may see more diarrhea more frequently than you want to. Also, you can add in natural fibers. So if you're going to transition them on this, from kibble to raw situation, you can give your dog natural fibers like pumpkin puree. You can get that from your grocery store. Make sure it has no sugar or xylitol in it. Then you also can give some Greek yogurt. That is an amazing probiotic that is really good with gut health. You can add extra veggies into the diet during this time as well. You can do things like spinach. You can do Brussels sprouts. You can do broccoli. Things like that are really high in natural fibers will help your pup during this transition because their stomachs may be feeling a little weird. So you want to make sure that they have the extra support if necessary to, while they're eating, to make it easier for them. I also want to stress to you the importance of making sure that you are washing your pup's meat prior to giving it to them. So you can do things like vinegar, lemon, lime juice, fresh lime squeezes, things like that in warm water. If you are going to give your dog raw chicken, make sure that you are washing that raw chicken in cold water, and you're doing some lime juice with that, and you're doing some vinegar with that. You're just trying to make sure that it's the less chance of bacteria exposure, listeria, and salmonella, things like that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please do not be afraid to drop any questions, comments, or concerns below in the comments. And as always, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.